Hey everyone, it's Tiffany here, the CEO of Results Driven REI. I'm super excited today. We have a guest, Ashley Molina, who's in our what we call a small group program, which is 6 months of coaching and hand holding from me, my staff, and coaching. So who is Results Driven? In case you're on here and you don't know who we are. We're an education platform that we focus on providing a predictable experience through holding accountability with an industry leading process. And one of the biggest things we've become known for is holding people accountable to getting actual results. So if you're interested in hearing more information, tiffanyandjoshhigh.com, or you're welcome to DM me on Instagram. It's Tiffany High Official. And I will be sure to respond to any questions or comments you have after this. So I'm super excited. Ashley is not just one of our students. She's become a good friend of mine throughout the time of getting to coach with her. And I've known her for a while in the industry. Awesome stats with her is, she did around like 45 deals last year, and she's definitely doubled her volume since being in the group. And I want to hear all about it today. So you want to bring her on? What's going on, Ashley?
Hi, how are you? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Perfect.
How's it going?
Good. I was
Good.
actually reviewing some stuff earlier before getting on the call with you, and then I realized how good everything's been.
So I was just introducing you, letting everyone know that you're in our small group program, and Ashley's been in it now for about a year, I think.
Yes.
So before we even jump into all that, let's talk about a little bit about, where were you a year ago and where are you today? And let's talk about how you've adjusted to the market shift and everything like that.
Yeah, so a year ago, I would say we were nowhere near where we are now. And I think the one thing that I look at, it's not like numbers wise, but just the foundation and the leadership that we have in our business now, including myself and T, it has completely changed because we realized that we had to start actually leading the people in our business and stop working in it and thinking that the numbers were just going to come if there weren't consistency within our behaviors. But from last year to this year, we have new people on the team. We have three closers now. It's yesterday one more started, so we have three closers, two lead managers, and it's just been a completely 360, being that we have your program, and on top of that, like, just a hiring process as well, because we were trying to hire last year and that was like a shit show. And now this year, with the tools and everything that you guys guide us with, we're able to actually implement and use everything you guys have given us to just bring on people, and not only bring them on, but to lead them every single day, every single morning. Like, we use all the tools given to us in order for us to succeed. So I think the big difference from last year to this year is, one, leadership, and then two, consistency, and three, obviously that shows in our numbers and our growth this year.
So one thing I think that's, common, and I was in those shoes too a few years ago, is when we get into the industry, or really any industry, it doesn't matter. When you start a company, like, we didn't go to high school to learn how to be leaders. Like, they didn't teach us this stuff. They didn't teach us HR documentation and recruiting processes, and nor did we learn this shit in college. So, I think that when everyone gets started in business, we're all kind of guilty for figuring it out. And I can tell you, at least on my end, like, some of my most expensive mistakes have been in recruiting, making sure that I'm onboarding properly, or I put the wrong person in the wrong seat, or maybe I hired someone that was toxic in the past. And I think that, like, people at least in our industry, I feel like people think that, like, marketing and closing the deal on the phone is the only thing they focus on in the first couple of years. And then they find themselves sitting in the same shoes they were when they started. And a lot of it's
Yeah.
because we're not focused on recruiting talent and leveraging people to continue to grow the company. So, like, what was one of the big aha moments on, like, being able to put the right people in the right seat? Like, what were you doing before when it came to hiring people versus what you do now?
So before, it wasn't as many checkpoints and steps in order to bring somebody in. It was just like, hey, one person interviews them, we think they're a great closer, then they can come into obviously the company. Now it's like, you don't have to have, I know I'm a natural closer, I have the skill set, but you don't have to have the skill set I have in order to come into our business, because we have processes and systems in place now, right? So following like the scripts and all of the stuff you guys provide us, we've implemented that in our business. And it's kind of like, anyone who just is coachable and comes in and has like, and fits our culture, right, can come into our business after we do like the 3-step interview, because we have systems in place and our processes in place which they can follow. They have something we can give them to follow. Before, we just needed closers because there was really not much to follow. It was just like get on the phone and close the deal, and then we leave a lot of things on the table. So I think the one thing that I did get out of just the recruitment process itself was the 3-step, I think it's 3 or 4 steps that you guys use for recruiting. We do it virtually. We use the same exact steps virtually, and the scripts, just having like the check boxes and making sure that whoever we onboard can stay long term, because we are setting expectations properly up front, and we already know what we need to check, where they're lacking, where they need guidance, by just guiding them every single day and making sure that they're checking these boxes every day.
Yep. So I guess like tell me about how your stress levels are now compared to what they were when you had none of the processes. Because I don't know about you, but when I had a lack of processes, like I felt like I was coming in every day to work and like I had no other option but to do it myself because I wasn't, back in the day teaching it the right way and training people in the way that we do now. And now I think for us, like I don't think I actually jumped on a phone with a seller a couple weeks kind of for a joke, but we ended up getting a deal out of it. That was the first time I was on the phone with a seller in over 3 years myself.
That's
And I
crazy.
think that ultimately I know that's where we want to get T and you guys so that like you can just focus on being leaders and not being in the mix with it.
Yeah.
So has T been able to make some steps towards getting people in place that are just as good as him?
Yeah, he has. And that's one of the things, because I think last year, and when we join, it's still an adjustment period for anyone who joins, right? Because we had to start getting rid of all the bad habits and implementing and being consistent. And it was just like little parts of us doing that. And I think just like 6 months ago, was able to start getting out of that seat. But neither of us, it's like we're running the business. We couldn't do nothing. We couldn't breathe. We couldn't go on dates. We couldn't do anything, because it was just like, okay, we have to be in this seat. And for me, it was overwhelming, because not only do I have to, like, T was in the seat, but I have to be looking at the numbers, making sure everything is working, auditing half-ass, trying to see what's going on, because I'm not sure where to start. Every day you have a list of to-dos, and then it's like nothing really gets done because you don't know where to go. And I think now, and like even then, like I was beginning to burn out. Like it was getting to a point where I genuinely was like, am I doing the right thing? Like, do I want to do this anymore? But it was because I was doing it incorrectly. I wasn't using like what I'm good at and being in the seats that I'm good at and running the business. I was letting the business run me. So I think like today I can actually breathe more, because I'm like, okay, there's systems and processes in place. T has his team, he handles his stuff, I handle my side, and everything is just running smoothly. And when we have our same page meetings, we're like, okay, this is where your team's at. The numbers are right there, like the Excel sheets you guys provide for us. So everything is there. We can see when there's like a red light indicator, like, okay, this is what's going on. What do we have to do? We have to jump in there. It's easier to know what's wrong than to just look at everything and thinking the entire business is falling apart. So I think nowadays, like we're able to step away from the business and take 2 or 3 days off. And even if we wanted a longer time, and we know that the business is still running, even though we're still training people and bringing more people in, we know it can run without us at least 3 days.
Like let's just go back a year or two. Like what is your deal flow like now versus in the past?
In the past, so I think I mentioned this too, like when I was shouting you guys out on Facebook once, but I definitely feel like we've had 6-figure months prior to joining, and but it was so inconsistent. It was the most inconsistent thing. And now it's like, besides just the numbers and how much comes in monthly, we have a closing consistently. We have deals coming in consistently. So like the deal flow before, it wasn't like we got 2, 3 contracts a week or even 4 contracts a week. We would get maybe 2 contracts one week, then 3 weeks was dry, then the next month we'll get 8 contracts, and the following month we'll get 2 contracts, and the closings were even more sporadic and out of the place. Now it's like there's consistency in our business. There's consistency in our marketing flow. Like this is the amount of leads that have to come in every single week, because this is what acquisition converts, and like everything makes sense. The numbers all make sense now, and everyone has a number that we can give them. Before it was just like the industry was like, well, just get a bunch of leads. That's nice, but what do we do with these leads? And the one thing that we learned with small group was just figure out your team's number, use industry standards, and then work backwards. And that's what we did. And once we started doing that after our adjustment period and started working backwards, we understood our own numbers, which I think is major because a lot of companies don't even know their numbers or understand the numbers, because you're not going to be able to get consistency until you understand, like, this is the story your company's telling you, follow that story. Whether you like those numbers or not, you have to follow that story until you can change it. So I think that I've been in the industry about 4 years now, and the one thing I learned with you guys was, and the greatest thing was consistency, just consistently doing something and knowing when to improve the kinks so that we're able to see results.
Yeah. So one of the big things for those of you that are watching this that we stress to a lot of our students is in the first, let's just say the first year of business, right? We all get started and we're like running rampant. We're 1 to 3 man shows. And when we're doing deals, one, it's us doing it. And typically we're a little bit more natural at getting it done than maybe someone else without a process. Then we bring in people, and maybe when you start making your first hires, you don't have onboarding and training and management and systems and meeting rhythms. So what you're doing is great, right? But whatever you're doing is probably not realistic KPIs to what it should be if you did put all this infrastructure in place. So when you go to launch a new marketing campaign or you go to make a business decision that costs you money, whether it's hiring, launching new marketing, spending money, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm really big about saying, hey, let's make business decisions based on what I call industry standard stats. So, hypothetically, let's just say that you woke up today and you're like, hey, I want to go start direct mail for my first time and I need 5 more deals a month in order to hit this goal that I want to hit in a year from now or whatever. So, we've not, and let's just say you don't do direct mail today. So you don't have KPIs to make decisions on. So you need to make it based on industry standard stats. So just some quick high level ones are, direct mail on average gets a 0.5% response rate. And an average investor lands 1 of 42 call-ins. So if I send out 40,000 pieces of mail, I should average 200 call-ins. I take that 200 divided by 42, and that gives me 4 to 5 deals a month. And that's ultimately what you have to start. Then from there, when you start playing plus the play button on a marketing campaign, that's a part of owning a business. We got to A/B test things. So maybe I got a 0.003% response rate instead of 0.005. Well, what color was my letter? What list did I mail? Did I hit it consistently? Like, these are all other factors now that I can go start tracking to make better and better business decisions off of it. But we all have to start somewhere. So I get a lot of people that come to me that are like, I don't understand why I'm not making 100 grand a month. And then I find out, you're spending less than 5 grand a month in marketing. And the reality is one, we need to spend money to make money. But ultimately, let's just say you're doing cold calling and the average caller sends 2 to 3 leads a day. And you only have 2 cold callers, but you have this vision of doing 10 deals a month and hitting $100,000 a month. So the intent of when you come into the small group is we do these business breakdowns with you and we reverse engineer. What is your goal? Like, do you want to make 50 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand? Because I could care less. I am not a guru that's like, hey, let's go make 100 grand a month. Like, I don't give a shit how much money you want to make. Whatever you define as happy, I will backtrack for you. And so we have to be able to reverse engineer to make better decisions. And ultimately, I don't know about you guys, I've had times in my life, and I'm sure Ashley has as well, where when we don't operate making a decision on the best information that we possibly can, we tend to go to bed full of anxiety, stress, like an unknown of what if this happens, what if that happens. And then we freak the fuck out because we don't know if we're going to go crashing in 14 days from now because we just threw money at the wall and hope that it stick at some campaign. And so, not only is there a bunch of, onboarding training and infrastructure that we give people in the small group, but at the end of the day, when you're going to make 10, 20, 30, $50,000 decisions every month to invest in your company, it's just like Ashley can give you your feedback on this, but it doesn't matter what group you're in. Like, you want to have your hand held a little bit from someone who's been there, done that, and probably spending more than you, so that you can make more sound decisions before you go drop 17 grand on a mail campaign and lose it all because you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, Ashley. I think that like there's a lot to be said, for coaching in general, right? Like I'm not just here to promote results driven, but like we're all in it. We all have coaching programs we're in because when we go to make these expensive decisions that we've never done in our life, we got to put ourselves in rooms with people that have been there, done that so that we don't go make some six-figure mistake.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that one of the things that you said is really important is like the marketing aspect of it. Because I've been in other mentorships and other things like that. I've spent 30,000 multiple times a year just in different events and mentorships, but no one does the like hand holding part, right? I think that that's what's the difference here is that I can make an investment. For example, I think sell my lead fast or whatever that thing is called. It's like the PPC leads.
Yeah, yeah.
I know that we invested in that, right? And it was just like, okay, like I understand that each lead costs $400 to $500, $600 in our market, but me making that investment wasn't so gut wrenching when I know that I have Aaron or anyone of our coaches that I can just pick up the phone and say, hey, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, it's 3 days in, and he can just redirect us, say, here's your plan, this is how you handle it. And you guys are just quickly to like guide us into like, okay, you spent this money, this is how you're going to handle it, and you have to let it work. Right. I don't think that enough people tell you, they just say, go throw all this money to this marketing, but no one tells you, like, you have to wait. It doesn't take 30 days or 15 days for you to just make a return on your money. There is a time frame and a cycle that we've learned, obviously through small group, that you have to wait for it to do its thing and then return you your money. But you have guidance on that. So I think like us having the guidance made us more confident in making these decisions when we were throwing 10,000 extra in marketing or 15,000 extra. And then once you see, okay, this is working because I've consistently been doing it without getting scared or running away from the market because I have someone guiding me, you start seeing the changes in your business, plus just including the leadership and everything else that you learn.
Yeah, one thing Ashley's talking about is what I like to refer to as the cash conversion cycle. And so essentially, I'm going to give you an example of what I did recently. I dropped, I don't know, like $56,000 on direct mail a few weeks ago. And I drop the money, right? I spend the money on the campaign today, but I don't actually hit doorsteps with this campaign. I drop it equally over, say, 6 weeks for one campaign drop. So, like, the mail's not even going outbound for another 6 weeks for some of it. And then it hits a doorstep. It takes me 30 days essentially to get it in contract. And it takes me 45 days to wholesale it and 3 months to rehab it. And so the whole intent of that is a lot of us, we go spend money. And then if we don't get instant gratification of collecting money on that spent money, we freak the fuck out. And what we have to do is make business decisions knowing, hey, what is the average cash conversion cycle for cold calling or direct mail, and make decisions. And ultimately, I also operate this business. I don't just teach it, I operate it. And so I can go into my numbers and say, look, this is what I did. This is the results that I have. I can literally tell you the cash conversion and ROI on every dollar I've spent for the last 6 years based on a report that we have. And it's refreshing to know like that I can go to a student and say, if someone's about ready to say, hey, I'm ready to spend 50 grand, where do I put it? I can say, here's the numbers I've gotten from X, Y, and Z, but let's take a look at your market and see what makes sense. And ultimately what are their resources, all that kind of stuff. So the one thing I love about working with Ashley is she listens to what we say needs done and executes accordingly, where some people you tell them what to do and they still don't listen. So hats off to
Yeah.
Ashley because they have been nothing but sponges and they're super coachable in the program. And she's referencing T, who runs her acquisition side, which I'm super proud of. Aaron talks about T all the time in coaches meetings. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I mean, you guys have been crushing it. So what else? Like, what's some of the biggest challenges you've had? Like, is it more of the market shift or buyers dropping out, or what are some of the challenges?
Honestly, I will say that when everyone had like the what was it, the phase where everybody was selling to the hedge funds, we didn't get to that. We always stayed very old school and brought in our organic buyers. So I think a lot of the competition in our market has left. And one thing we always had was like we always organically weekly brought in buyers and things like that. And plus now going through your Kajabi, we're pulling lists and we're treating that as its own marketing. It really hasn't hit us hard because once we had to shift, like we got on every single call you guys had on Wednesdays, and we were like, all right, we have to shift how we run numbers in order for me to sell these deals. and anyone in dispo to sell the deal. So we started shifting how we ran the numbers, and then it just started like working and correlating itself out. Because again, a lot of our buyers had came in organically, and we didn't have the luxury of having the hedge fund buyers back then. So I think it was a curse
Yeah.
and a
The
gift at
blessing.
the
Yeah.
same time, a blessing, because realistically, like our best quarter was just last quarter. When it was just like that was our best quarter when we implemented all the new people came in, we had all our numbers. And also just a cheat code, I was also sitting in dispo. So I think that's kind of like also cheating, cheating, but I'm like, whatever, I have to sit here right now. But we had our best quarter just with all the contracts that were coming in. They were going out the same way they were coming in. And then this quarter, what we've been working on is the new Dispo Kajabi you guys rolled out. So we already went through the course, took the test, and we took a lot of that and implemented it, because what it did help us with was systemize our Dispo side and have like, okay, I'm sitting in this role and I'm doing it right now, but I know once I get off out of this role, and I enjoy doing it. Honestly, talking to buyers is pretty easy for me, but I'm putting things into place where right now is the best time for me to be in this seat, because when I get out of it, now we've already put the tools in. I've used the tools myself, and I can train somebody to come into the role and say, okay, like this is how you can display the deals. This is the processes we have, and they can go through the Kajabi and easily learn how to do it.
Yeah, so what she's referencing, guys, is one thing that we do in the program is we provide a fully built for you onboarding system, all the videos, quizzes, assessments, documents for both the acquisition role and the dispo role. So if you were to hire someone, it's completely turnkey. So like all of their day 1 through 5 of onboarding is already pre-made for them when they start at the company by being in the program.
And honestly,
And
I was, oh, sorry, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say that I didn't touch base on that. That is like the biggest takeaway for us, because T talks about that all the time. We didn't have a training before. People would come in and it's like, okay, like we'll train you 2 or 3 days and just get them on the phone and expect them to hit numbers. And like you guys provide that. And honestly, like I would have never built that out, because I hate doing things like that. I'm like, this is like, it's in my brain. I know how to do it, but I don't know how to put it on paper. And until you hire someone who can do that for you, it's kind of like we're still in the growing phase, right? So being that you guys provided the acquisition side for us and even the dispo, to me, it's like, okay, once this is built out, like I don't really have to do anything but just plug and play someone, because they just, the entire training is built out for them. So I don't have to do anything. And T is so hands off. Like yesterday, a new guy started and he's like, he's already grasping everything because he's going through the Kajabi that you guys built out. They get their own login and it's just so seamless, the process. One, because we follow most of the stuff you guys do. So our systems are the same. We've implemented everything you guys said, but it's just so seamless to onboard someone that I used to hate doing that before. I used to hate onboarding because it's just like you forget a ton of things. You don't have a checklist. You don't have anything. You're just like, okay, like just start working. Like that's all I know to tell you. And like you said, the real world didn't teach us how to onboard people, how to recruit, how to do all these things. And the fact that you guys provide the actual training material and then like the checklist, even the human resource stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, I can't do that or I can't do this. Like it's just all the things provided has made us growing the team easier, which has helped the revenue, because growing the team is part of us getting to the next level. And just because it made that more, it's not easier, but it's more seamless, right? The tools we need in order to do that are provided to us, and it's more seamless for us to grow our team. And because of that, our revenue is growing.
Awesome. Aaron commented on this and said, "You're not allowed to sit in that seat much longer."
I love this, though. I know I'm getting out by January. Honestly, as soon as I came back into Dispo, I was like, wow, like I should have been doing this longer, because it's just like, it's so natural for me to just
yeah,
talk to
I
the
love
buyers.
dispo too.
Oh, I love dispo. I'm like, I don't want to get out of here. And then it's like, in acquisitions, you have to have the patience and all that. And dispo is just like, here's the number. You can or you can't. That's it. I love it.
That's funny. All right, everyone. Well, I didn't want to take up too much of anyone's time, but I definitely want to highlight, thanks for coming on, Ashley. Ashley, again, has been in our 6-month program for almost a year now. I got to stop calling it a 6-month program. But whenever I say the small group, I'm like, people are like, what's the fuck is the small group? So
Are you guys changing the name or no?
oh, eventually. You know how logical I am with naming products. So anyways, so thanks for coming on today. If anyone wants any information on our programs or anything else about the small group, you're welcome to either go to tiffanyandjoshhigh.com and fill out a form, or just DM me on Instagram at Tiffany High Official, and I'm happy to respond to any questions you guys might have. But thanks for coming on, Ash. And you need to come out to a 2-day soon, by the way.
I know. I wanted to go in November. I was telling T. Did it fill up yet?
No, you can still come. We
Oh,
always make extra space for people that are in the program.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell him so we could go. I think it's in 2 weeks, right, or next week?
Yeah, it's in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yep.
try
So
to
we
make
got
it
a
out
2-day
there.
workshop coming on. So if you're on here watching, and you're looking to grow a team, if you're a one-man show or even a 5 to 10-man show, and you want to come in and hear our recruiting, onboarding, training, and management process of the day-to-day, shoot me a DM and we can jump on a call and chat about it and make sure it's a good fit for the both of us. Cool.
Cool.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
Yep. Thanks, Ash.